Hello there! In this video I will state different kinds of things that I would like to see in the next upcoming Anno, once that is gonna be a thing. It will probably still be a while until something like that would be announced, as they have just done the last season. And maybe there's another season coming, maybe not. But the time in the future will come where there will be a new Anno. And I've been thinking about what would I want in that Anno. What would I want them to take over from Anno 1800? What are the mechanics that makes this Anno so damn good? I was a little bit inspired by Takas' video on Crown Falls, where he states the ups and downs of that DLCs and really goes into depth on some mechanics that I think are really crucial to think about for a new Anno. So first, a quick short background info on me and why I'm doing this, or what my knowledge is about this. I'm not just some goon that just started Anno and now thinks I can claim to have eaten wisdom with spoons. I played pretty much all the Anno games from the very beginning of 1602. I loved 1602, and some of the things that I thought back then would be great in Anno actually have become real in the current Anno, or just in later iterations, and some things I've asked for even back then and they have never been addressed. So I will go into stuff like that as well. And of course, there can also be like new things, new ideas that could be explored. I, for example, loved the idea of going to the future and do a lot with like global warming and keeping nature and just make a different kind of Anno game. But I did not like when they, with the following Anno, did the exact same thing. It felt like, yeah, you did this now, we would like to go back again and have more of a classic. And while I love that as an idea, I would not want the Anno to be too far from its core, but also, of course, not the exact same thing one-on-one, because then what's the point of making a new Anno? I'm not personally a big fan of remaking games just with better graphics. I would rather have like the next game, instead of a Warcraft 3 remade and then failed at that, I would rather have a Warcraft 4 to make a horrible example. Okay, so let's talk about the current Anno 1800 and the things that this Anno does really well, that I like a lot and that I want to stay in the Anno series from now on. As you can see, we are here on, this is Crown Falls, I had to rename it, and this is a zoo that has a lot of things in it, as you can see. I did collect a lot of these animals. There are a few missings, but not actually because they're missing, but I had to space it out, and I'm planning this. And that's a part that I love. I love the zoo, the botanical garden, the museum. I love all of that, and I love planning a design for them. I love the collecting, do the quests, go on exhibitions, do in the exhibition halls these projects. There are a variety of mechanics in the game, how you can attain all these items to slot into your museums, gardens and zoos. I love that aspect of the game. That's done very, very well. And as a minor detail, I love that you can put in sheet of music from previous Annos. That's great. And while this may look like an ugly bastard, of course, this will not be the only one. For example, my botanical garden here. This is a huge botanical garden that I fully decorate, and this is a smaller botanical garden. Together, I have every single piece of botanical garden in the middle of my city. And up here we have the museum. I did the same thing with putting it into two separate museums, and the reason for that was I wanted the railroad to go in between, to go through the museum, and to have here little exhibitions with a glass roof where they can watch the train go through. I thought that is beautiful, and I love decorating. And I really love how it lets me place all these wonderful objects, like these dinosaur skeletons are beautiful, and these caveman paintings on the floor. But it also allows me to connect it with little paths and have trees and pavilions and fountains and all kinds of decorations all around, and it works. You see people walk through. This is beautiful. There's one missing here. There's not supposed to be one missing here. But that's not part for this video, why there's something missing. You see, this is a part that I like a lot. Also when things are modular, like the chateau, the palace, the seat of power. I love how you can choose how it looks. It's not just a square that you plop down and then you build it and it's done. I mean, while a project build, like the exhibition hall, is cool, it's a little bit boring in the way that decoration wise I cannot do anything with it. It's just there. Imagine if I could place an exhibition area that would consist of several buildings that I can connect together with parks and paths and several pavilions and buildings, and there is a little bit of open air exhibition included. That would be really cool. You know, kind of like I can do with the palace. I love that. And of course I had, once again, once I noticed I can build roads through these archways, I was like, wait, I can build railroads through these archways too. So I just had my railroad to go through the palace. That the game lets me do this is excellent. I love that. So a lot of people of you will be like, wait, that's all about decoration. I really don't care about decorating. I want efficiency, I want progress, I want to max out things, I want to max out production. And I get it. That's also something this Anno really does well. I love all the management and all the UI they created. There are many sorting buttons. You can have items. There's a search function, and you can do the selling and the purchasing with a minimum amount that stays behind. That's really good. That's so amazing that you get all this great UI, and all the functions from previous Annos are still there but improved upon. Also all the items on the effects that affect, like this trading post, are listed here. That's great. I love that. That's amazing. The trade route management is also pretty good. You can search, you can create routes. You have different kinds of routes you can create, you can swap between. This is really well thought through UI. The only pet peeve I have here is if I look for, let's say, for this, nah, this is a bad example. Coffee is probably a good example. Yeah, I have 5 ships going for coffee. Here I can see, okay, when I hover over them, none of them is currently in Cape Trelawny. Okay, maybe they are in the New World, picking up the coffee. Okay, yes. Okay, I know this ship here is a coffee ship. I can hover over it, it tells me. But they all go just between this island called Silenzio Bruno and my Cape Trelawny island. But I only could find one. The others do not light up. That means they are in between worlds. Why is there no option to here see the in-between ships? So I know what direction are they going, where are they exactly. Sure, I can check here, hover over them and see how much they have loaded, but I don't really know where are they? Are they almost entering Cape Trelawny, or did they just leave the New World? Are they in the way in the other direction? I don't know. That's my only pet peeve with this. I would like to see in between. I have a little bit more information. But all the information I already get is amazing, and I love that. Another UI thing that I love that is really done well is this part, the statistics. You can get it by clicking up here. Here, production. That's what I really like. This is the Crown Falls Island on Cape Trelawny. So this is where most of my consumption happens. And you can see, for example, they consume a lot of fish. You can click on it, there is information on it. But I also know I'm shipping that to this island. No, they supply a lot of fish. Wrong stat. Let's pick something more sensible. Like something that they consume. Yeah, for example, caoutchouc. They consume a lot of caoutchouc. I mean, they don't technically consume it, but they use a lot of caoutchouc. And I produce that in the new world. So I can here, just with pressing down Control, I can grab all the cities from the new world and see caoutchouc. Where was it? Here, caoutchouc. And I see I produce less than I use up. So I know, okay, caoutchouc is something I potentially should fix, or I should purchase it, as this is only production. And if we go to the dockland here, let me see, am I purchasing? I am purchasing caoutchouc. So I make up for that. And I know that I have to do that because of the information that I got in here. That screen is amazing. I love that. That gives you good information. I wish, though, in the tutorial, like in the campaign or something, it would explain this a little bit better and like bring this to beginners as well. Even I, as an old-time veteran in this game, had to look up a video from Takas that helped me out and really blew my mind on how useful this screen is. Keep screens like that, please. And then the last things that I really like and want them to keep, maybe improve upon, but not reduce, is the campaign and the sandbox mode. I really liked the campaign. It was fun, it had some story, it had some humor, and it took you step by step through the production queues, and it was really a well integrated tutorial that also had some engaging parts to it. I liked it. And also the sandbox, if I click here, of course I go for less guidance. I just choose whoever, choose whatever. Yes, everything here. Yes, everything here. Okay, we clicked through all. Here, this, it gives you a selection of a few choices. Good choices, I think. And lets you do custom, and custom is where it's at. I love this. I always love when a game allows me to adjust the randomized world that I'm going to play in. I can adjust the island size, I can adjust the island difficulty, I can adjust the fertility, mineral deposits. I can adjust how they are spread out, at least in the mainland. I can choose the AI characters with me. I wish their personalities would affect them a little bit more. I would love them to increase on that again. But I like that they are very different and it feels different to have different AIs in there. And you can turn off pirates and custom traders and stuff like that. That's great that you can do that. And even here the starting conditions and the features, I can choose them, including the victory conditions, which is for me usually, I want to turn them off. That's why I play Sandbox. So I like this. Keep this. So now about some of the changes or improvements or additions that I would like for the next Anno. I would really like it to be still in the past and not in the present and not in the future. Where in the past doesn't really matter much if it's more on the medieval side or again in the industrial revolution around there, or maybe it goes over a longer time span. That could be really cool. Start a little bit earlier than the current Anno, but end about where the current Anno ends. That would be really cool because I liked the railroads and I liked the story and I like pretty much everything, but I love that it starts in a very classic Anno fashion with sailing ships and just the harbor and stuff like that. It keeps true to its core. And with the campaign, the story mode, I really like that too, that it has different steps and you go like, keep going and you get more quests. That this was very good, and the narrative was done also quite well. It was charming writing, there was a lot of voice acting. I love when the game is voice acting and it's not like a book to read. While some people don't mind reading books, when I play a video game, I'm usually in the mood to play. I'm not really in the mood to read huge walls of text, which is a bit of a pet peeve of mine with the Africa DLC. While it was super charming and so well voice acted, it had a lot of quest descriptions and stuff to read through and a lot of lore. That was, while really cool, I was sometimes just too tired to read it, and I would have loved to engage with it, but since I had to read so much, I was just skipping through it. And that means I lost a lot of the content actually, just because I played it after work and I was just tired. So more voice acting would be nice. Also, imagine a plot line that is non-linear. I would love a little bit of a longer campaign with a plot that can go in different directions. Imagine I could be the good guy and like help the poor, build a paradise, build something good for everyone and help the suppressed. Or maybe I'm the bad guy and I want profits and just production and I want everything, I want money and I don't care about working conditions. Imagine just a plot line tree that is not linear. That would be really cool and gives you a reason to play the campaign again. I played the campaign once and I don't really have an urge to play it again. In theory, for achievements and such, I could try to play it on higher difficulties, but I don't really care because the plot will be exactly the same and I've seen how it goes, so the suspense is a bit is dropped by now, has not much replayability for me. But if there was a secondary plot line that I have not engaged with yet, oh, that would be completely different. I would surely go for that. And next, the island shapes. What I love is hard island shapes, as in high difficulty on the island shapes, but large islands. I like to have my place to expand, to build large cities, but I also like if it's interrupted by rivers and mountains and there are narrow paths and I have to plan out how I want to do my city layout. I like if the game forces me to plan and think. That's something that's really cool. While it can also be pleasing if you have just an open square with lots of land. I'm sure there are people that just want to max out efficiency there. But also I love the challenge when there's the island itself is a challenge. But still I want the challenge not to be a lack of space, but just an odd shape, an odd island shape is what warms my heart. And if I can affect that in the settings, when I set up the game, I want to be able to choose what kind of island shapes I have. And I can already do that, but I want to have more options there, more detailed options. I want to be able to push it a little bit more to the extreme. It's always a certain set amount of islands that are large, a certain amount of islands that are smaller, and the difficulty is only like easy, medium, or hard. I wish I had more things like give me a certain allow me to put in a number on how many rivers I want on the main islands, how many main islands I want, how many mountains I want. Why not a mountain in the middle of the island? Why not several layers? I know some islands have several layers. Let's see if she has something like that. There are sometimes, like here, this is really nice. Stuff like this is beautiful and makes it more challenging to build, because you cannot just max out your grid. You have to think, okay, how do I work around with that? And I want more of that, or at least I want to be able to put more of that into the game if that's what I like. And people that want it more simple and more profitable to max out the mechanics, they should also be able to put the settings in for that. On that note, I want to mention rivers and Cape Trelawny. So I have here, as you can see, I built a lot on these little islands to the west of Cape Trelawny. And the reason is the opposite of efficient. I know this is absolutely inefficient, and these islands, some people were bothered by them because it blocks up so much space and is so inefficient. When I saw all these rivers, I got excited. I knew exactly that I want to build the city here, and that I want to have little parks around, and I want to have either the museum or the botanical garden or the zoo split and then connected with little bridges going over the river. I think this is beautiful, and I love to build with that. I wish there would be more interactions with rivers. There are, in some islands, you have these river slots where you can build a production building, like a paper mill or something. That's really cool. But it's a little bit underwhelming. I feel like, why are rivers not more impactful? Like here, rivers are more just like an island challenge. Makes it a little bit harder to plan things, which is great. But that's about it. Like when I build a farm, it doesn't matter if it's next to a river or further away, except for when you're in Mbesa, the African part. Here, next to the river, there is auto fertility, and that's great. Also next to like little lakes and such, there is more green grass, so your farms, your plantations have good fertility and don't dry up. And then you have the canals and everything. I'm not a fan of the canals, how they are implemented, but a fan of the idea I am. And what I love is that you need these river slots. But I wish the river would be even more impactful than it already is. Let me build maybe little fisher huts that send out people to go fish from the river. Maybe river fish is a different kind of fish than the ocean fish. Or just let me do something more. Maybe let me use it as a transportation. Let me have little ships go up and down the rivers. I live in Switzerland and we don't have ocean here. But what we have are rivers. We have, for example, the Rhine, and the city of Basel is on the Rhine and was in the medieval ages a large commercial city, and profited so much from being at the Rhine because the trade went up and down. People went up and down the river. The alternative to boat was horseback. No airplanes, no railroads. So the river was highly important, and I wish it would get a little bit more importance on all these islands. When there is a river, I want it to play a more major role. And maybe lakes too. Like we have this beautiful small lake back here. Looks gorgeous. But besides looking gorgeous, it does nothing. Which is a bit of a pity. In my opinion, a missed opportunity. But it's something they can improve on. Please do that. Then about Cape Trelawny. The thing that Taka mentioned in his video, I agree to everything. I'm busy. I agree to everything. I love to have a huge island and to be able to build whatever I want and not have to worry about space all that much. And I also have a lot of mining slots, enough beach space and everything. That's great. And with a little bit of islands here, it's a beautiful island as well. A lot of open space, but still a little bit of rivers and complications here and there. That's great. It's an amazing island. Well done. The downside is two big things. The one thing that Taka mentioned, it's always the same island. It doesn't matter how many times I restart the game, it's every time the same island. And there's always only one island this large. Why? Why not, like all the other islands, randomize this? That would be so cool. Or maybe at least in the settings, when I set up the game, let me have the option to either go for the default island, which is probably the easiest mode, or a randomized option. Or maybe I get a selection and I can just choose. Imagine if I could choose 1 out of 5 different versions of Cape Trelawny Islands. That would be so good. I would love that. Or imagine if there were more than one such a large island. Because I played with a friend, and when we started, we were like, okay, which one of us gets Cape Trelawny? Which one of us gets Crown Falls? Because only one of us can have this. And we wanted to play cooperative. So yeah, that's the downside. Imagine both of us were really keen on getting this island. Why not have 2 islands like that on a multiplayer session? Also, why is there only one huge island here in the old world style and not in the new world? I want a large island here to build a huge city. You know? A lot of space to do what I do in Cape Trelawny as well in the new world. What about Africa? Why not a bigger city here? I mean, the main city is pretty large, but then again, since it has rivers and the river slots are limited, I need to use this for production. I cannot just be like, I just use this for only city. I cannot. So I did not really fully engage with it. Also, you can see my cities here between the mountains because I thought, oh, that's a pretty spot, the mountain valley. I'll build it here. Not like right next to the harbor or maybe over here where there is no river. I mean, I expanded over here because I needed more space, but I wanted to have a little bit of a challenge and at the same time space. And that's all I'm talking about in island shapes. I love the challenge, but I also want to have space. And when we look at the different kinds of worlds, what I always wanted, I was asking for that since the very first Anno. More regions. In 1404, I love that you can build an Arabian settlement. I love here that you get the New World and then the Africa expansion. I love this. It's beautiful, it gives more variety, it gives you something more to build, it gives you more to manage. That's amazing. I want Asia. Ideally, maybe something inspired by China or Malaysia or Japan. Something in that direction. I know those are very different countries and it would be really tough to choose which of them to choose for an inspiration as they played historically quite different roles. But I would love the aesthetic of an Asian area. I say Asian here very broadly because I'm aware that they will not like implement several Asian areas, but just one. And they will probably just choose one of the ones I mentioned, and I'm happy with any of them. As a weeb, I would probably prefer Japan the most, but I think from a historical perspective, China would be really cool. And I would love if they would allow us to build a huge city there too. Not just make it a place to exploit. I mean, that too, but also allow for the players to build a large city there. I always thought the Arabian city was a little bit underwhelming compared to the old world. Same here, Africa and the new world both feels underwhelming compared to the old world. Only 2 levels of citizens. In the old world, we get a lot more. We get the farmers, then we get the second level, which I forgot what it's named, then we get artisans, then we get engineers, then we get investors, and then we get skyscrapers. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's 6 levels in the old world, while the new world and Africa only have 2 levels. 4 levels less. Why? When you make the next Anno, give the other regions the option to just have as many levels, or at least not such a big disparity. Like if you give us Asia, give us also 4 or 5 levels to go to. That would only be sensible. And I personally would even want to go a step further. Let us start in a new area. Let us start in China or in Arabia, or you know, classic Europe, like England or France, Italy, kind of like that. Let us choose where we start, and that could be part of the challenge. Maybe it's just harder to start in Arabia, or it just brings different challenges, different options. Could be interesting in multiplayer. Imagine playing with a friend. One starts in Europe, one starts in Arabia, and you're excited for the time when you meet. I want that. I want, again, multiple different regions, and I want them to be impactful. I love how you need the different places to trade back and forth. I really love that sometimes you need goods from the old world to be imported to the new world or to Africa and vice versa. So it's not always just this old world exploiting the newer worlds. I love when it's sometimes also reversed. And because if you start in another place, you could give a scenario, like another plot line where you do the reverse colonization. Imagine you start like as an Aztec or Maya or maybe Inca or something like that, and you build your settlement and you start to explore the world before everyone else, and then come to Europe before they come to you. Imagine that, like people love to do in games like Europa Universalis. Stuff like that would be really cool in Anno. Of course, a little bit on a different scale, but let me build a variety of cities and make the other cities just as or closely, almost as impactful as the main city. This is very pleasing to build. I have so many unique buildings that are required, so many level ups, so many things to think about, so much road layout that matters. While in the new world, I don't really have to put much thought into it. The most thought I put into building in the new world is, okay, how do I get the goods for the old world? So when I build here, I'm not really thinking about here, I'm thinking about the old world. And that's a little bit sad. It's maybe historically accurate, which is also sad, but I would love if I can create an alternate history here where maybe this becomes the pearl of the world, where this becomes the place where the world gets ruled by. That would be amazing. And lastly, about the islands, something that I appreciated in older Annos, the animals. It's a little bit more of a minor thing, but I would love animals to come back. Like I can see here, look at this. There are some kinds of cougars here. And sometimes you see a bird fly over. You just see animals in the jungle or even on in the forest. And oh, look here, this bird. This is cute. This is beautiful. And the way the river flows through this, and there's more animals here flying. And sometimes you can spot an animal in the water, a whale or a dolphin. Look at this. Look at these. Beautiful. So cute. But they don't do anything. Like there was the hunter that could go on a hunt and catch animals for food. Why is that not a thing anymore? I want that back, and I want it to be more impactful. Imagine I could send out a unit that catches an animal that you can then put into your zoo. Or imagine you could build an animal preserve. Imagine you could build like a fence around here and guards against poachers. Imagine poachers would be a thing, and you could choose either to approach them and benefit from them, make some money, sell the rare animals that they hunted, Or maybe you want to do more of a preserving approach and just put a fence around it and guard against poachers. Just more impactful if these animals would have on a more meaning for the gameplay. That would be really nice. Look at this. They look like donkeys. But I love this. This is a minor detail, but I love if the world looks more living. On that note, quests, search quests. I hate search quests. If I have to look for tiny little flowers or animals somewhere on the mountain, I hate that. Or even worse, if it tells me like, oh yes, by the way, here in your Cape Trelawny, there is some red shirt dude missing. Search him and you get a reward. And I'm like, what? Yeah, it's around here. And I'm like, around here? You know how long I look for that? My city is huge. If I don't find him right away, he may walk off and wander off somewhere, and then it's impossible to search in this Barcelona looking like part of my city. That's just no. I hate it. Of course, they are optional, but sometimes I would really like a quest. And the next 3 quests I get are search quests, and I will deny them all, and by denying them I will upset the AI. If I would play on higher difficulty AIs, then upsetting them would be quite problematic, therefore forcing me to do this stupid search quest when I'm technically busy with other stuff. And instead I'm spending here time zoomed in looking for some single red shirt. Please give me the option to turn them off, or at least tone the frequency down. I can't be bothered with search quests really at this point. While like when I just start with the game and just have a very tiny village, and search quests are chef's kiss because they're so easy. They're still boring as fuck, but they're easy at least, huh? So I don't mind them there, but at this point they're exhausting. I don't want them. Let's talk about the big buildings. Like I mentioned that I love all the collection stuff and the modular building. Like I said with the exhibition hall, I really like if I like the project. I like that it takes several steps and you need to power it and you need a lot of resources, a lot of workforces, and when it's done and you get the reward of profiting from it. It's great. If it were also modular, amazing. But here we come again to one of my peeves with the old world and the new world. Why is there no such large building that I can build here? Why? Remember in the old Anno the cathedral? Imagine building such a cathedral here. I would love that. Or anyway, why not more of those buildings? Like I love that with DLCs they added the big tower. They added this one. And they also added the Empire State Building looking like thing, which I personally am not a big fan of. It's too big, too clunky, stands out too much. But that's just personal preference. I know many people love it and I love the idea as well. I want more step productions like that. And I want, like here, I get the exhibition hall, I get the tower and the building. I get 3-step production. And I also get a large building like the bank. So I get 3.5. And in the New World and in Africa, I get none. What? Why? Give me something huge here too. And please make it modular. Wait, with the DLC they made one in here. What's it called? You know which one. I don't have that one yet, but I like that they did that. More of that. It's a bit sad that it required them like 3 years to add something like that to the new world, and I'm happy that they expand on it a little bit now, but I wish there was more from the very beginning, because the difference between new world and old world was huge in how engaging it is to play with. Talking about big projects and modular, the harbor. I love all the little decorations that they gave us. And as you can see, I put some effort into making this somewhat pretty. I like how the dockland is modular. What I don't like is that you need a lot of modules and they all look a little bit same-ish. It's not too pretty. While the core design is fine, I wish it would combine a little bit better with the main trading post. But I really like the idea of having a large harbor area and it being modular and being able to design it. I wish there was a bit more purpose behind designing it and have a little bit more space deeper into the water here. Like if I build stuff here, you can see it's limited. Very quickly I don't have space anymore here. I can't even expand this one all that much anymore because I'm using up all the space. There's a little left over here. And this is one of the largest islands. Okay, I have more space over here. But still, give us even more space here and let us design this for aesthetic but also practical reasons. Like this is already a good start that we can have several manual piers. But it would be cool if you would need a connection, like this pier, I can place this wildly. Let's like take this pier. I could just place a pier here. Here. Done. Dead ugly. Force me to make a connection. Force me to think a little bit more when I plan my harbor area. But also make it a little bit more meaningful on how I do it. That would be really nice. With that, let's also talk about ships. Like there are a great many different kinds of ships and they're all looking very pretty. And they have somewhat different purposes. That's really cool. What is a little bit boring though, efficiency wise, in the end what I want is just cargo ships. I will build this version of the cargo ship over and over again. In the end, I don't have a reason to build any other cargo ship anymore. Because it's the most efficient in every regard. It's fast, has 2 item slots, 6 slots for goods. And it doesn't depend on wind. That's great, but boring. Why not give me a few more variations of different kinds of ships with a different purpose? What about a really fast ship that is best to get a good that maybe there is a good that expires if you don't use a fast ship. I don't want that to be too tedious. I wouldn't want like goods that expire all the time when you do it wrong and it becomes really hassle. But imagine there would be like a local island that I need to ship local goods to another local island, something like that. Imagine there is I don't know, maybe a small island here that has a resource that is really valuable that I want to bring over here very fast because here I can process it because I have the rivers here, or I have the buildings that need to be powered by electricity here or something like that, and I use a fast ship to bring this resource over because the ship doesn't need much space. I mean, I can do that now, but that's not really a point since the other ships are fast enough as well and they have more carriage, so I have never to worry about it. I would like the ships just to have a bit more purpose in their role and not just, yes, I unlock the next version of the ship. Now all previous ships become obsolete and I will never build them again. Also, power production, railroads, roads. I like the way the roads work. They're fine, they've always been like that, and I don't think they need much changing. One thing that would be nice is diagonal roads. Imagine I could build diagonal roads. That would be cool for aesthetic purposes mostly. And it would be nice if there would also be some basic buildings you can build on diagonal roads that have like a shape that is made for diagonal roads, like the basic houses, and maybe that have maybe an alternative shape that then fits on a diagonal road without disturbing the overall city layout. Maybe the warehouses and the markets too. That would be really nice if they would fit on diagonal roads. If they don't do that, it's fine. It would just be nice, mostly because I would love to have diagonal bridges in here. Or maybe just give us diagonal bridges. That would already be fine. And of course, decorative objects would be the easiest solution that could fit into diagonal spaces. Also, railroads and stuff. Like when I built for the very first time, I played Anno for the very first time, and I unlocked railroads, and I realized, oh, they need to get all the way from the harbor to the oil and through my city to give power to everything. What? I built way too narrow and had to move half my city to make space for the railroad. It was a pain, and I was seriously considering restarting the whole thing. Why not just let me see that there will be another type of road that needs some space? Let me see the railroad. Maybe let me even lay out the railroad if I so desire. And then before I can even build it, just let me have it. That is the blueprint mode. And I can build railroads with blueprint and then finish them later. That stuff, that's so good. But that would be nice to have, to see, okay, what comes, so I know ahead of time if I maybe should leave a little bit of space somewhere. Also, when I saw these trains, I thought, oh, awesome, trains in the game, so cool. And they look really cool and make cool noises. Let's see if we can find one. What I would love is a passenger train. Imagine I could build train station and passengers use the trains to go from place to place. I would like this to be enhanced. If it's again in the Industrial Revolution time, I hear it, I can't see it. I still hear it. Ah, nice. Nice. So yeah, give us more mechanics involving trains. I would love that. And maybe also more decorative aspects. You know, like if I could choose the design of this bridge. There's just one bridge design. Give me the option to click on it and alter the design. Like we can do with these buildings. Here you can choose the different building skins. Give us stuff like that. I would love that for bridges as well. Or more path variations. Let me build bridges for roads or for footpaths. Let me do more with that. I would love that. Also, like bridges over rivers. What about when the islands spawn? What about there being places where there are islands close to each other? Like a twin island. Imagine these two islands being a little bit closer and allowing me to build a road, a bridge, maybe a railroad bridge to connect them so they can travel between the islands that way. That I would love. And that should be doable. Of course, you cannot maybe not make that islands just by coincidence spawn next to each other, but you can make islands that always spawn in pairs or always have a connection, and then the remaining part of the island is not set in that, but is random. Like this part of the island is always close to this part of this other island, but then how the remaining part is different depending on the variety number. This is definitely doable, and it would be so much fun if I could connect some islands like that. Not all, it would be ridiculous to like build a huge bridge like from here going all the way around here. That would be ridiculous and unrealistic. But like when they're very close to each other, it would be so cool if I could connect them. Another idea that I would love, that they would make something a bit more complex, a bit more engaging, is the early game. The early game at the moment is very simple, very beginner friendly, but if it's a bit more complex, that's nothing that a good tutorial or a good campaign setup can't fix. But it would make the early game a bit more interesting, because usually the early game is just build harbor, build market, build road, set a bunch of houses next to it, go for materials, do this, 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 warehouse, done. That's the early game. Fish on the coast. Place, done. Easy. It's a bit boring. It's very easy and beginner friendly. I get that. But it's still a bit boring. While fish is such a good resource in theory. Let's go to this island and see what we can do. Let's sort it by this and go for farmers. So in the beginning, imagine here I have a harbor area, and the fishery is not just some sort of fishery, but imagine I have to at the beginning build maybe a little fishing town. Maybe I have to put them a little bit further out and have a pier, or there is like some rock area like that is solid, but then have this little pier that you can see here go out a little bit further, and then fisheries going deeper out. Maybe I have some fishing grounds that I see them go deeper out, and later on I can build bigger fishing ships. I can maybe upgrade this building. Imagine I can upgrade this and then they go out with a big steamship that has a net that they pull behind them, something like that. Imagine I have like this, the warehouse is upgradable. Why is the market not upgradable? Huh? Why the market not upgradable? They give us here more markets with the DLC. I love that. Different kinds of variations. Really pretty. But why is that not a thing in the base game? At least more than one variation. Why can I not upgrade this to a shopping mall on my skyscraper island? Also, early on, I really like how you need resources. Like, for example, pigs are a resource that I love. Why? Not just because they're cute, but you can turn them into sausages or into tallow. So they have multiple purposes. Or wheat is a good example. Wheat you can turn into malt that is needed for beer. Or I can use it to turn into flour and then make bread out of it. And there are later on even more goods that require some of these resources, like in the restaurant. But why the tavern not? Like the pub here. Pub is just a pub and it does nothing. I mean, it provides the need for the pub, but it does nothing. While the restaurant is way more interesting. Where is it? Here, I can place the restaurant and then I can choose what it serves. What if the pub would serve fish and schnapps? Huh? And potatoes. Fish, schnapps and potatoes. And on the market they would sell potatoes and fish. So early on I would want, of course, these buildings, but I would want fish to be sold at the market and at the pub. And the alcohol, the schnapps, would be only sold at the pub. So like if you don't have the pub, producing alcohol is not very useful. It's more like a luxury then. Like it is. I like how some resources are just a luxury to make the people happy, while others are a necessity. But I would like if they, here, you see they get sold at the market. That's a good thing. I like this concept. I would like more of that. I would like this to be enhanced a bit more. And maybe the fish have multiple purposes. This is food. Maybe you just need to provide them a source of food and the necessities is fulfilled, even if you don't provide them extra sources of food, because they don't starve, they have something to eat. But if you want to keep them happy, then they want an extra variety of food. And maybe it doesn't matter which is the variety as long as you provide something new. And then something new. And then something new. And if you provide something exotic that comes from afar, like from Africa or from Asia, if I give my people Kobe beef, they should be really excited about that. But if I just give them fish from the next island, if I give them river fish, that's already new fish. That's great. They like that. That's a variety in fish, but it will not have the same impact as Kobe beef. And I would love that. And imagine the harbor area integrating some fishing parts to make this a little bit more complex would be really cool. It does not have to be overly complex, just expand the early game queues a little bit. I like how in the late game, with especially with skyscrapers, it gets really complex. What these guys need is almost too much. But this is the end game. This is the absolute final stage that you only get with the DLC. That's fine. That's good. It has to be like this. This is to cater to people that want it as complex as possible. That does not mean that the early game has to be super simplified. I like that it is much more simplified, but it's a little bit too simplified. You know, that the raw goods are this simple, that's good. That's fine. That the lumberjack doesn't need a forestry like there are many games where you build someone that plants forests and you build someone that chops forest. That this guy does the same at once, that's actually pretty good. Because you have to do this so often that it would get a little bit tiresome. But the other goods could be a little bit more complex. Or have multiple purposes. Like for example, potatoes, you only really use them for schnapps. Like what? They're not eating potatoes? I mean, they do. But only in the DLC with the skyscrapers, where you get restaurants and buildings like that, where you can put in meals that include potatoes. I love that. But potatoes is something you have from the very beginning of the game. And it's not really food? What? Also, when mentioning fishing village, remember Anno 1404 with the Venice DLC? When I saw, what's his name? Garibaldi's island. I was like, whoa, this looks so pretty. Can I build that too? The game was like, no. I want to build Venice. I would love to have an island, like an island collection. When I mentioned I want to be able to build a bridge across islands, give me an area where there's a bunch of small islands close to each other and I can build some kind of Venice-like city with a lot of harbor area there. Imagine if Cape Trelawny would be more inspired by Venice. Oh my god, would I love that. Especially with little boats going up and down the canal. Here I said it for rivers. That's great, yes. But what about canals? Like, we can build canals for these cute little boats. And I love that. What I don't love is the color. This is a little bit too bright. And there is I want more waves. Like this, the swan is pretty, but it does not cause any waves. It looks too artificial. I mean, it is artificial, but I would probably not complain about this if over here, if the rivers wouldn't be this pretty. Look on normal speed. How beautiful the water floats here. This is gorgeous. And how the waves pound here. This is beautiful. And yeah, then we have this. It's not bad, but could be better. And now imagine a Venice-like city with canals. Buildable like this, but pretty animated like this. I would love it. And now to my very last wish, which is not a big deal because they did that already pretty well. It's decorations. I love to build pretty. I mean, you may have guessed that I love to build pretty. Little parks like this. Look at this. This is pretty, right? I love to build this, and I'm so happy that this game allows me to do this. After a little fences, a little bit of a gate in here, the place that is these parks are connected with passes. I fill some trees in between, some flower beds, sometimes a bench, and of course next to the church, because that's where people hang out after the mass. They want to go and sit in the park, relax and think about God and the world, right? Especially back then. And what I would like is the modular parks. Maybe a meaning, like a purpose behind building a park next to the church, for example. Have that some synergy would be cool. Like, so it rewards me for doing that. For me, I'm happy with just it looking pretty. That is reward enough for me. But I would also like if I would get additionally rewarded by a mechanic, by something in the game giving me a benefit for doing this. Or imagine a graveyard. Why is there no graveyard in the game? Here we have graves next to the church. Why can't they build a large modular graveyard? Where I can plot down different sections of graves and then build some trees and paths and maybe a pavilion in between. In the city where I live, there's a huge graveyard and it's such a gorgeous place. And often this is next to a church. Why can't I have that here? Please don't make a graveyard that is just like a square that I plot down and it's done and it works like a pub where people just want the graveyard and that's it. Make it a need, the graveyard, yes, but make it modular. Make it have a range like this, but make it a bit more impactful. And design aspect, combine it with parks or something. Or maybe synergies, like some buildings that are better if they are close to each other. That would be really cool. I already like with the items here, for example here, affects all churches, affects all marketplaces, affects all public services. This is already cool because it gives me an incentive to think where I place stuff and have it close. But of course, me being the greedy decorative person that I am, I want this to be pretty. And of course it would be way more efficient with this in here, public services. Why not also squeeze in the school and the university and the members club and just all the public services in this square would be most efficient. And the idiot me puts it on an island? What? Oh no. Put it here in the open area. But here I built the museum. So yeah, it would be nice to have. I'm aware of this term. It would be nice to have more synergies for the decorative elements. And it would be nice to have like different road sets. If I could choose the pavement of the road to have different colors, to use different rocks. Like especially in the new world, let's be real, This grey pavement does not fit as much to these buildings. Have me some more brownish rocks here, or just different kinds. So let me choose. Have me a variation of it. Like let me, if I hold, there should be a drop up. Whoops. Now I removed it. No. If I hold it down, offer me like 3 variations, 3 color variations would already be cool. Or even with this, you can see these power lines. Let me choose an alternative set of power lines or lights. I know, you can sell DLCs where you get all these options, but at least a few more variations in the base game would be nice. Like, let me choose a different bridge layout. Have me a variation. Even if it costs me cash, at this point doesn't matter. But at the beginning, it means at the beginning you still have to manage your money. But once I'm rich like this, I want the prettiest bridge for my prettiest people in the prettiest city of all the world. Give me more of these decorative elements. I already appreciate a great deal the elements we already got. Like, it's so nice that it can place little parks and statues and stuff all around. As you can see, I like to separate things with fences or trees. And it's really cool that I can do that. And especially that people use it. Like this gate, this guy just walked through here. That's so cool. That they use that. Yes, thank you. Or little fountains like this. I love that stuff. I love these little parks everywhere. And I love if they would have a bit more of a gameplay impact. I love that people walk through them and that they sit on benches and stuff. They are there, they use them. But I could also just not use them. All they do is increase the number of prettiness. Which I've reached the maximum anyway. If I have 1,000 or 2 more, makes no difference. Which is fine at some point, but imagine this having an effect locally. Imagine, like, not a highly impactful, not a requirement. It should never be, doing decoration should never be a requirement, because I know there are people that hate it. There are people that would just min-max the efficiency, and they should be allowed to do it. But imagine every now and then a little bit of tree, a little bit of a park bench, a little bit of a gazebo, would make the people slightly more happy and maybe pay you more. What is more efficient, to just have an extra building there for more people to pay you income, or an extra park for the payment of the already existing one to increase? Doesn't really matter all that much as long as it has an effect. And one minor last thing, character creation. I'm playing here as Queen Ayane, and I chose here this symbol with purple color. It's great that we have many places, many symbols and colors to choose from, and quite a variety of characters to choose from. But have you ever played Crusader Kings? Or other games where you can edit your symbol, you edit your banner, edit your flag, like customize the profile. But it's not really, it's just a logo and a color. But imagine I could adjust this. Imagine I could adjust the size. I could add different kinds of symbols on it. I could pick the color freely from a complete palette or the RGB code. And I could mix and match. Imagine I could create the old French flag or something like that. That would be really cool. And I think that's not too much to ask, because many games do that already since quite some time. It would be cool if the next Anno would do that too. It's a minor thing, but it would be a nice thing to have, because I think it would be very pleasing if there would be more flags, you know? More flags everywhere. Here, these flags with my symbol on. I like these flags. They show this is mine. This island is mine. This is my property. and to claim ownership with your own custom-made symbol would be really cool. So that was everything really that I want to see from the next Anno. It's not really anything mind-blowing, not really, except for maybe more regions, but I think it would, just like this Anno did, further improve on everything that made Anno good in the past. Thank you all for watching, and if you have also ideas, feel free to write them down in the comment. If you think something I said is complete bullshit, feel free to state how you think it could be better or different. Or really, if you have your own ideas, state them in the comments. Until then, until next time, see you around. Oh yeah, and if anyone from Blue Byte or Ubisoft is watching, I'd be happy to work on the next Anno if you have open positions. I have a degree in game design and would love, it would be a lifelong dream come true to work on an Anno game. But I mean, it's YouTube. You never know who's watching. Thank you all for watching. See you.